Hello, hello, hello. I am the Linux Mensch. Endeavour OS is a distribution that's based on Arch Linux, and it's supposed to be an easy way to get a full Arch Linux operating system up and running. So today I'm going to install it and take a look at it and do a post installation on it. That is, I'm going to configure it and change it to the way I would like to use it if I was going to live in it. So let's get to it. I'm at the Endeavour OS website, and it really has beautiful wallpaper, that's for sure. And all you got to do is go to here to download. And I didn't download it from Magnet or Torrent. I went down here to the mirrors. So I went down here and I clicked this on from the USA. I downloaded it. Maybe it took a minute. It was pretty fast. And the ISO was about 2.7 gig. And now I'm going to install it and show the post-installation changes I would make if I was going to use it for myself. I've logged on to the live ISO, and I'm not going to do a tour of it. I'm just going to go through and install, but before I do that, I'm going to change the resolution. And I'm doing this because it's a virtual machine. I'm going to hit Display, Configuration, and I'm going to change this. I always make my virtual machines 1360 by 768. Let's apply it. I'll probably have to do this again after the install is finished. Let's keep it and let's close it. That's better. And let's click on this. Install system. It's the system installer. And I'm not going to change the mirrors or choose the mirrors. I'm just going to go through and install. Let's start the installer. So here we have a choice. Two different types of installation. Number one, you can do an online installation, and of course you need internet for that. And when you do that, when you're finished the install, it's going to be completely up to date. Or you can do an offline installation, and if you do an offline installation, you don't need internet, although I don't know why you would not have internet, but you don't need internet. And when you finish the install, you're going to have to update the system. Now, this ISO is from June 25th, and today is September the 8th. So for Arch Linux, June 25th is a really old ISO. They should update their ISO because, Arch Linux is a fast rolling release. And there's updates every day. So there could be a couple thousand updates to do. I don't know. Now, just as a side note, when you install pure Arch Linux, and I'm going to call it pure Arch Linux because that's the way I always call it, just to differentiate it from Endeavour or Manjaro or some other distribution that's based on Arch Linux. When you do an install of pure Arch Linux, regardless of whether you use their relatively new automated installer, well, it's really not that new. I think it's 2 or 3 years old now. But regardless of whether you use the Arch Linux automated installer or you do a manual install, when you install pure Arch Linux, it's always up to date until a couple of hours have gone by. And then there'll be more updates to do because it's a rolling release. So getting back to Endeavour here, you have the option of doing an online install, which is right here, which means when you finish your install, it's going to be completely up to date, and you're going to have a choice of several different types of desktop environments and window managers. But if you do this one, you don't need an internet connection, and you won't have a choice of different desktop environments or window managers. It's going to install KDE Desktop, and afterwards, you're going to have to do a complete and full update. Now, after the fact, if you use this method, after the fact, you can install any desktop environment you want. You can install the Cinnamon desktop, the GNOME desktop, or any other desktop. You can install Qtile window manager, the awesome window manager, the i3 window manager, any window manager you want to use after the fact. So now I have to choose which one I'm going to use. And you know what? I'm going to do an offline one. So let's click it and let's start the so it's starting calamari, so you can hardly see it here. We move that up. Okay. Where did it go? Here we go. And we're starting the Calamari's installer, which this installer, most distributions, not all, but most distributions use this installer. Let's click on next. Let's click on next. That's good. Let's go next. Let's click on next. Let's click on erase the whole disk because it's a virtual machine. I'm going to leave it on no swap because I don't like swap. And I'm going to encrypt the system. So it's going to ask for my passphrase. I'm going to put my password in. And go next. Whoops. I got to confirm my password for encryption. And now I'm going to go next. Now my full name is Linux Mensch. My login name is going to be Mensch. My computer name is going to be Endeavour. And my password is going to be this. And I'm going to repeat my password. And I'm going to leave it clicked on to use the same password for administrator account. And I'm going to click next. And I'm going to install it. Install now? Yes. So now I'm going to pause the video and come back. So don't go away. Okay. So that took about, I didn't really time it. Maybe it took 10 minutes at the most, but I don't think it took 10 minutes because I went out of the room. I was doing something in the kitchen. So now I'm going to click this on to restart. And I'm going to click on done. And it should reboot. And is it not going to reboot? Oh, there it goes. So it's asking me for my passphrase. So I'm going to put my password in. And I'm going to click enter. And now it's asking me for my passphrase again. So this is kind of strange. You know, I've encrypted many Arch Linux installs, pure Arch Linux that is. And I've encrypted pure Debian. I've encrypted Linux Mint Debian, Linux Mint Ubuntu, MX Linux, Antex Linux. And in all of the different types of installations I've done with encryption, it's never asked me to enter the password twice, but this is. So, I don't know, it just seems a bit strange. Anyways, let's enter it in. And my encryption passwords never show how many digits or, yeah, let's call them digits, how many digits my password is. And this does. So that's a little bit strange too. I don't like that. I like the password to be invisible. Okay, so we've landed on our brand new install. And this is the welcome menu. Of course, you can read all this stuff. I usually don't. And I'm going to click this on. Don't show me anymore because next time I boot up, I don't want this popping up. Or in other words, I don't want this popping up every time I boot into the system. Don't show me anymore. And I remember. So the first thing I'm going to do again, and this will be the last time I have to do it, is display configuration. And that's because this is a virtual machine. I do like this wallpaper. It's kind of nice, eh? And I'm going to change this to 1360 by 768 and apply it. And let's get rid of that. There, isn't that better? Now we can see the bottom bar. Let's just do this one here, EOS update. And it's asking for my password. Put my password in. I don't know what those error messages mean. The mirrors are all good. I don't know. Is it going to do my update? Let's see if we can get to, oh, it's 608 packages to update. Like I said, and actually that's not bad. Seems kind of small considering this ISO is from June. right? 600 would be, I would have expected it to be 2,000 packages to update. Anyways, let's see if we can get through this update. Because that's what you want to do is, the first thing you want to do is update the system. And I was debating whether or not to do the, look at that. There's a lot of error messages. I was debating whether or not to do an install from the ISO or to do an internet install or a net install, because the net install, you'd be up to date. The ISO update, the ISO install, you have to update it. And I knew it was going to be a hard update, but I thought I'd do this way just so you can see what it's about. In case you're new to Linux or you're new to Endeavour. Okay, it looks like it finished. And interestingly enough, we got a message saying to reboot is recommended. Okay, and we have a timer here. Close in 60 seconds, and it's counting down. So let's just hit enter. And it's telling you reboot is recommended. So I'm just going to open up a terminal. And I'm going to type in reboot. And now we're rebooting. Hopefully the upgrade worked. And it's asking me for the passphrase again. I don't know why I have to put my encryption password in twice. I've never seen that before. And luckily I have an easy password for this virtual machine. But in my real bare metal computers, I have a more complicated password. So it's kind of a hassle if you have to put it in twice. And it's not like it's going to be a different password. So here you have to put it in again. That's kind of weird. Anyways, hopefully the update worked. There was a lot of error messages, but maybe it fixed itself. I don't know. And here we are. Let's put my password in. And there we are. We're in the system. Let's just do the EOS update. Just want to do an update again. Make sure everything is working. Because I saw a lot of errors in it when we did the update. There is nothing to do. Everything is up to date. Okay. So let's open a terminal. Let's just do uname r. 610.8 is the stable kernel, so it looks like everything updated okay. I really like to get rid of that bleed through. So it has VLC, anyways, it has VLC installed, and I can't stand VLC. So what I'm going to do is, let's go into settings. Oh, for Firewall. It has FirewallD installed, and I don't like FirewallD. And I think FirewallD is too complicated for most Linux users, especially for brand new Linux users. And most distributions do not ship with FirewallD, or Firewalled. I don't know how to pronounce it, but most distributions don't ship with it. Most distributions ship with uncomplicated firewall. So I'm going to install that. I'm going to remove this and install that. And I'm going to remove VLC. So I'm going to quit out of here. And I'm going to make this larger. And I'm going to type in sudo pacman r firewall D. Yeah, it's FirewallD or Firewalled. I don't know. I'm removing it. Let's get rid of it because I don't like it. And now I'm going to clear the screen. I'm going to remove VLC. So I'm going to remove VLC. And how am I going to remove it? There's too many dependencies. So I'm going to do sudo pacman r dd VLC. Now somebody sent me in one of my previous videos when I talked about being unable to remove VLC that was automatically installed by default. Someone gave me this command. One of my viewers wrote in and told me to do rdd. So let's see if it works. Okay, so we removed VLC. Now let's clear the screen and let's see if Git is installed. Let's see if I can install my GitLab repository. Git clone https://gitlab.com/artibus1/ mench.git. Oh, so Git was installed. So my GitLab repository has been installed. So now I'm going to cd into mench arch like that. Ugh. I'm going to cd into mench. ls it, and I'm going to go into the arch folder. cd into arch. ls it, and I'm going to run my auto app. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to clear the screen, and I'm going to do auto app. And it's showing that some of the things are going to be reinstalled because they were already installed. That's okay. I don't mind. I'm going to do alt. Oh, it's reinstalling a lot of stuff. That's okay. Alt. Package conflicts. And it stopped. Let's clear the screen and let's do this. Auto. Hit enter. Remove pipewire pulse. I'm going to say yes. Okay, now it's going to work. So there's 259 packages it's going to install. Let's see if this works. Now it's saying to reboot. I don't know why. It didn't install, and my auto app doesn't install any kernel. So I'm just going to clear the screen. And you know what? I'm going to get rid of this. We can do a reboot anyways, but what I'm going to do is control. Oops. Let's clear the screen. And let's do, I'm going to run this one here. Let's just do ls. I'm going to run my run configs file, but I'm going to take a few things out of it first. So I'm going to do vi run. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this one. And I'm going to delete the light DM. And actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to delete these. Well, you know what? I'm going to delete almost everything from here. I'm going to leave that on. I'm going to take that off. I'm going to quit out of there. So let's run it. Said I was going to have to reboot, so I don't know why, because I didn't change the kernel. Let's just do a reboot. Asking for my password. I don't know why. Taking a long time. Oh, there it goes. It's asking for my encryption password a second time. And now we're at the display manager, otherwise known as the login screen. Now what I'm going to do is go down here. I don't know if you can see, it's way at the bottom. I'm going to click this on, and I'm going to go to the awesome window manager. I'm going to put my password in. Got rid of all that bloat. And let's see if my terminal's working. Oh, and I forgot to set Zesh. Let's see if my Zesh is working. And it is. Let's see if it's working for root. Now we're in root. Oops. Let's try doing it the right way. And it's working in root. Now I'm going to vim into etc password. And I'm going to change that. And why am I in vi? Oh, you know what? Vim didn't get installed. Let's do sudo pacman s vim. Let's do sudo vim. Well, let's clear the screen. Sudo vim etc vim rc. And I'm going to take R and U out. I'm not going to delete it. I'm going to just turn it off because lately I haven't been using it. And now I'm going to go back into password, and I'm going to change this to Zesh. I'm changing my default shell to Zesh, and let's just look for Mensch here. Let's go to the end. And if you watch my regular Arch Linux videos, you know I do this all the time. And let's get out of there. Let's go back to the display manager or the login manager, and let's go back in. And let's open up a terminal. Ah. Finally, I feel like I'm at home. Let's do an Htop. This virtual machine has 4 processors, 4 gigs of RAM, and no swap. I've been up and running for 5 minutes, and I'm running at 244 megabytes of RAM. Nice. Now I have Rhythm Box for music. Oops. Remember I took out VLC? Well, now I have Rhythm Box for music. Don't have any music in here. Let's open up Firefox. And I have Firefox installed with an ad blocker. And let's open up a terminal and see if my sudo uncomplicate firewall status verbose. Let's see if that's working. Put my password in. And my firewall is inactive. Why is that not working? Houston, we have a problem. If you're a young person, you probably don't know what that means. I'm going to type in sudo uncomplicated firewall default deny sudo uncomplicated firewall enable sudo uncomplicated sudo system control enable uncomplicated firewall sudo system control start uncomplicated firewall, and I'm going to reboot, and I'm going to put my encryption password in, hit enter, and I'm going to put my encryption password in a second time. I don't know why you have to do it twice. And now I'm going to put my user password in. Okay, now let's open up a terminal. And you know what? I'm going to do an Htop first. It's a fresh reboot. Oh, now it's running high. I think it was running lower before. 292, 284. Anyways, let's quit. Let's clear the screen. Let's do sudo uncomplicated firewall status. And put my password in. And now it's active, and I forgot to do verbose, so let's do verbose. So the firewall is active. It's going to deny all incoming and allow outgoing. Okay, so the firewall is set. It's fixed. Now, because I installed all my favorite apps, I have GNOME Calculator installed. I already showed you Firefox. I have Kdenlive installed. I have OBS installed, OBS Studio. I have Rhythmbox for music. I have the full LibreOffice suite installed. I'm not going to start opening all of them. I have the Tor web browser installed. Xterm is installed and set. Let's quit out of there. Let's go down here. Can you see it? Let's open up Qtile. I have Qtile installed. And let's open up my terminal. Let's do an Htop. Now we're running at 251 megabytes of RAM. Let's quit out of there. Let's open up Firefox. Nice. And let's change this to Celsius. Ooh, it's cold. It's only 10 degrees Celsius. Well, it's not really cold. Well, it's cold for summer. It's going to get a lot colder in the winter. Let's close this. So this is Qtile. Let's get out of there. Let's go into i3. My password in. And let's open up a terminal. And let's type in i3 config. And I got to fix the resolution on here because I have the resolution turned off in my configuration file. I should turn it back on, right? I have the volume control turned off. And let's go to the bottom. And I have bar on top turned off. Let's do that. And let's just quit out of there. Let's just quit out and go back in. Put my password back in. And let's open up the menu and let's go to nitrogen. Let's go into preferences. Let's take off recursive. We don't want that on. And let's go to add. Let's go to mensch. Let's select it. Okay it. And let's choose one of my wallpapers and apply it. And let's close it. And let's get out of there. Oh, before we do that, let's exit. Let's set this. Let's fix my volume control. Show slider, and default is going to be white GNOME. And now let's get out of here. Let's exit. Let's go back in. And let's see if that's working. So my volume control is working. And I wonder if I have sound. Let's go into Firefox. I don't have any music in this virtual machine. Let's go to YouTube. Let's do a search for my channel. Let's see if we have sound. ISO. Using the automated Arch installer. But the things I'm going to do differently are this. Number one, my installation is going to be on a real bare metal computer, not a virtual machine. So we have sound. So this is the i3 window manager I'm in. And let's quit out of there. And I'm going to go back to desktop session. And let's go to Plasma Wayland. I don't remember which Plasma we were in before. And I don't know Plasma Wayland will work on this virtual machine. And we're back in Endeavour. Or we were always in Endeavour. Now we're back in. Let's open up console. And let's do an Htop now. So I've been up for 37 minutes since my last reboot, and I'm running at a gig. So let's close that. Close window. And can I open up Xterm in here? Let's do Xterm. That's better. Isn't that a million times better? Let's do an Htop in here. And we're running at a gig. Isn't that a lot easier to read? I know there's a way to turn off that bleed through. I can't stand it. Anyways, that's it. In this video, I went through a brand new, fresh install of Endeavour OS. And I showed what I would do if I was going to live in it, the changes I would make, and I installed, well, I downloaded and installed my GitLab repository. I installed all my favorite apps, and I ran my configuration files. I removed VLC because I don't like it. I removed Firewall because I don't like it. I installed, like I said, my GitLab repository. I installed all my favorite apps. And of course, for music, I replaced VLC with Rhythmbox. And I replaced Firewall with Uncomplicated Firewall. And for some reason, my run config file didn't set the firewall properly, so I did it manually. I installed the Qtile window manager, the awesome window manager, the i3 window manager, Zesh shell. I made the Zesh shell permanent, and pretty much I did everything in here that I would normally do when I install a pure Arch Linux system. Now, also in this video, I struggled a bit because I'm not familiar with Endeavour OS, even though it's based on Arch. I'm not familiar with it. Now, this is my third video on Endeavour, but I never lived in it. I did 2 other videos on it. My first video was a year and a half ago, and my second video was this past May. But after the video was over, I never went back to it. I never used it. I never lived in it. I never played with it. And then I ended up deleting that virtual machine. So I'm not that familiar with Endeavour OS. And also, I'm not familiar with Kde Plasma. Now, I've done several videos on Kde Plasma, but once again, I made a virtual machine and installed Kde Plasma. I showed you how to do a few things in it, and then I never went back to it. So I've never lived in it. So in this video, I struggled more than I usually do in videos because, like I said, I'm not familiar with Endeavour OS, and I'm not familiar with Kde Plasma. And even in the video, I couldn't figure out how to turn off that bleed through. And I know it's not called bleed through. There's a name for it. I can't think of it right now. But I can't stand bleed through. When I'm reading books, I don't like when it's thin paper and it's bleeding through. And I can't stand bleed through on the screen. Maybe it's because I'm old. I don't know. So, like I said, I struggled with Kde Plasma and I struggled with Endeavour. And what I'm going to say is this. And maybe I'm going to insult some people and make some people mad. Maybe I'm going to get some hate messages. I don't know. Maybe I'm going to get some thumbs down. But you know what? I don't see the point of Endeavour. Now, with Arch Linux, pure Arch Linux, the only way to install it used to be the manual way, typing in all those commands in the TTY. And because of that, Manjaro came into being. And Manjaro is a distribution based on Arch Linux. And Manjaro uses the Calamares installer just like Endeavour does. So Manjaro was really, I think, the first, or at least the most popular way to easily and quickly get an Arch system or an Arch-based system up and running. It was user-friendly, and at one time, Manjaro was really popular. Now, some people say Manjaro is not Arch because what Manjaro does is when you download new apps or update the system, it doesn't come directly from the Arch Linux repository into your computer, because what Manjaro does is they take all the apps and all the updates and they migrate them to their own repository. They hold them back for 2 weeks and test them, and then they release them to the people that are using the Manjaro system. So because of that, some people say, well, Manjaro is not Arch Linux because they're using their own repositories. And then Endeavour came around 5 years ago, and Endeavour doesn't do that. Endeavour built their system on top of Arch Linux, but everything comes directly from the Arch Linux website, I think. But I noticed in the mirrors and in the Pacman configuration file, there is a line for Endeavour repository that's not in the regular Arch Linux Pacman file. So, and I'm saying all that to say I know I'm going on really long. This is almost a 2-hour video. In 15 minutes, this is going to be a 2-hour video. I'm really going to have to do some chop, some editing. But Endeavour has a lot of lovers. And a lot of people love Endeavour because apparently it takes things directly from the Arch Linux system. And it doesn't hold things back for 2 weeks like Manjaro does. And it's an easy to use, easy to install, and easy to use distribution. Personally, I didn't think that's that easy. It has some nice colors in it, but Arch Linux is not hard to install anymore. Pure Arch Linux. There's 2 ways to install Arch Linux nowadays. Pure Arch Linux, that is. Number 1, the manual way in the TTY, and I have many videos showing you how to do that. I have many videos showing how to install Arch Linux the manual way in the TTY with encryption and without encryption. Secondly, Arch Linux has an automated installer now. And it's been around, I think, for 3 years. They have taken a lot of the kinks and bugs out of it, and it works really good. And I've done many videos on that, showing you how to install pure Arch Linux with their automated installer. Now, it's not called automated installer, it's called Arch Install. And it's really easy. And honestly, I would never use Endeavour. I would never live in Endeavour. I think it's too bloated. It's too complicated. I think it's harder to use than Arch Linux, and I don't see the point of it. To me, it's redundant. If you want to use Arch Linux, use Arch Linux. It's not that hard. I have lots of videos showing you how to install it, and there are many, many videos in YouTube showing how to install Arch Linux the manual way and how to use their installer, the automated installer. And what I like about Arch Linux is that it's not bloated. I get to install it, and it's almost like I'm making my own distribution. There is a distribution called Linux from scratch, and I never used it, but apparently that's even harder. That's really hard, apparently. But it's like I'm building my own Linux distribution from scratch, kind of. And I install my own apps. I install what I want to use, the things I like. And that's why I'm not impressed with Endeavour OS. I don't see the point of it. I think it's redundant. And if you want to use it, you can use my install script with it. So that's one of the reasons why I made the video. Someone had asked me, I don't remember if it's the same person, but someone asked me if they could use my auto app and use my scripts after installing Endeavour. And I answered back and said, yeah, I think so. I don't see why. Well, I don't remember what my exact answer was. But then I thought, well, I would do it on a video. And of course, someone asked me, and I don't remember if it's the same person, but a person asked me to do a video on Endeavour showing how I would maintain it and do a post install on it. And that's what I did. But you know what? I didn't really want to make the video. My heart wasn't in it. And I don't see the point of Endeavour. I really don't. And I do see the point of Manjaro, because Manjaro is different in the fact that they hold back packages for 2 weeks and test them to make sure they're stable and working properly. And Manjaro has lots of different flavors. So having said all that, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you learned something, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps my channel. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. That helps too. Until next time, I am the Linux Mensch. Don't forget to download my configuration files.